Okay. We in the building. As you know, I'm Juice Warner. This is Old Jaw Gritty. Yes. Now I have a question for you today. The question is, was Adam the birth of the revolution, or was he the birth of criminals? But before we get into that, yo, don't forget to hit the like, the subscribe, and the notification bell so you can know when more content is being uploaded. And also, please don't forget to check out my book. Hold on, I want to make sure y'all can see it here. Street Skillsy, well, I can hold it like this. Street Skillsy knock 'em out the box. Yes, it's about two brothers on opposite sides of the law who must team up in order to find, pardon me, I have a busted lip here, right? In order to find their father's killer or killers. It's a murder mystery that takes place in the tri-state area, basically, of New York, mainly inside the boroughs of the Bronx and Harlem, right? Or Manhattan, as we should say. All right. Yeah, and don't forget, like, oh, I did say it, but I want to hit my I would have hit my button, right? Because that's the Street Skillsy knock 'em out the box. That's the book you could check out right there. Right, and this is the like button. Don't forget to hit it. You know what I'm saying? So we can all get that love. Now, in order to start this off, we're gonna simply start off with Genesis 4:1 through 5. Actually, it's more, and I think I should have saved that. But if anything, I'll pull it up. It says, and Adam knew Eve and his wife, and she conceived and bare Cain, and said he begot a man from the Lord, and said again, bear his brother Abel, and Abel was a keeper of sheep, but Cain was the tiller of the ground. And in process of time, it came to pass that Cain brought his fruits of the grounds to the offering of the Lord, and Abel he also brought the firstling of the flock of the fat thereof. And the Lord had respect for Abel and his offering, but unto Cain and his offering he had no respect. And Cain was very wroth, and his contentance fell. And the Lord said unto Cain, why art thou wroth? And why have thy contentance fallen? Right, hold on, I don't know if y'all can see the bottom there, right? So anyway, move over here, all right? And we bring it up here, bring that down some, all right? And I'm just pulling up the movie. I mean, I don't think y'all can see it. I don't think I can see the top. Sorry. It goes, if thou doest well, shall not you accept, and if thou does not well, sin lieth at the door, and unto thee shall be his desire, and thou shalt rule over him. And Cain walked with Abel his brother, and it came to pass when they were in the field that Cain rose up against Abel his brother, and he slew him. And the Lord said unto Cain, where is Abel thy brother? And he said, I know not. Am I my brother's keeper? Right. So I wanna pause there and say, remember, one is the keeper of the flock, one is the tiller of the ground. The tiller of the ground was the first suffering given to man. Like, classation. The classes, given, if we find this class war, the first class given was that those who worked the field and they had to work, as we read in Lil, in the toe, in the hole, right, in the madlock, this device that made it possible for workloads to increase also put those at a class, those who had to work the field and those who basically had a more easier job because they had the flock, right? And so those who worked the field were not giving their praise while they're busting their behind doing all of the work, right? It's like, here go the person doing the work, somebody else walking around with the flock. I give, the fruits and that, and all of the things that that sheep is able to do as well. So I'm technically, like two-thirds of this, you know what I mean? And you turn it around and you giving, these accolades to the next person, right? But remember, it's a classation thing that is taking place. Right, let me move this down here. Pardon me here. All right. So then it goes in this desire, and thou shalt rule over him. And Cain walked with Abel his brother, and it came to pass when they were in the field, and Cain rose against Abel his brother and slew him. Right, and so you see it in that field. But remember, the original story of Cain and Abel, there was no violence. It was about seeking the love. At that time, when we say woman is God, we would see, it's about these two brothers who, same situation, but it wasn't about a conflict. At least that's what, I got from the other story. But this is more referring to a uprising, because the people in this story dialogue has a different complaint. You see, they set up a system for now, this writing right here. You understand what I'm saying? Meaning it was a structure set into place. So here it is, those who got this classation, they will uprise against those of another, right? Then it goes, and Cain took slew him. And the Lord said unto Cain, where is Abel thy brother? And he said, I know not, am I my brother's keeper? And he said, what hast thou done? The voice of thy brother's blood crieth unto me from the ground. And now thou art cursed from the earth, which has opened her mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand. And thou tilleth the ground, it shall not henceforth yield unto thee her strength. A fugitive and vagabond shalt thou be in the earth. And Cain said unto the Lord, my punishment is greater than I can bear. Behold, thou hast driven me out of the land from the face of the earth, and from thy face shall I be hid, and I shall be a fugitive and vagabond on the earth. And it shall come to pass that every one that findeth me shall slay me. And the Lord said unto him, therefore, whoever slayeth Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold. The Lord set a mark upon Cain, lest they find him, should kill him. Right, my fault there. Right. So as we see, he becomes a fugitive and vagabond. If he's always running and he's always running and he's left to beg, right? A vagabond, a beggar, traveler, right? So this is the faith of of Cain, those who, if you wasn't gonna be in the field, then this would be your other thing, is to be this fugitive, right? So we go into, the Hebrew text, right? The Hebrew definition of what does the word Hebrew mean, right? The word Hebrew means to cross, to crisscross, twist, or entangle. This is what the word Hebrew means, right? Traverse and tolerance, right? So the King James Version, what does Hebrew mean? Hebrew means to traverse, and traverse means, again, I'm sorry I had this in the wrong order. Now traverse is to crisscross, twist, and tangle, which is, you know um um a skill, right? Because the crisscross, we'll learn this through Freemasonry, the twist, the twistings and entangle, these actions, right? So we come here, right? And to prove this, it goes, the biblical term Hebrew, right? Meaning to traverse or to pass over. It usually renders as Hebrew in English from the ancient Greek, right? And Latin. The biblical word, right? So I'm not gonna go through all of that because I don't know how to pronounce it. Right? But then we go like this. This is very important, right? Now there was a day when the Son of God came. This is in Job. This is Job 1 6. Now there came a day when the sons of God came and presented themselves to the Lord and Satan came among them. And the Lord said unto Satan, Whence cometh thou? And Satan answered the Lord and said, From going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down it. Remember, he's a vagabond. He's left with nowhere to go but to travel back and forth to and fro, right? Now let's look up adversary. So we're gonna really, is the Hebrew, you see, understand. It is within the divine court of justice and retribution that Satan has his origin. The Hebrew word Satan, meaning accuser, in adversary, occurred several times throughout the Hebrew Bible and refers to enemies, both human and celestial alike. Enemies, both human and celestial. When referring to celestial adversary, the word is typically accompanied in a defiant article, right? So we know what the job is on my fault. See, this is where it was supposed to be. Hebrew Bible verse. How canst thou say, I am not polluted? I have not gone after Balaam and thy way in the valley, known that thou hast done. Thou art a swift dormitory traversing her ways, swaying back and forth, right? So we understand what this traversing is. Now, let me drop this down. And we understand when we was just talking about Cain and Able, right? When Cain was sent out of the land, he was sent. Hold on, let me bring it back up here. Um, hold on. Surely kill him. I'm thinking, did I have it in here? Or is it on my phone? Might be in my page itself. Let's see here. Um, no. Okay, I must have closed it. I can open it back up. If I need to. At the end of the day, after Cain killed Abel, right? He went out to the east of the Garden of Eden. Here it goes. The land of Nod, right? Is a place mentioned in the book of Genesis in the Hebrew Bible, located on the east of Eden, where Cain was exiled by God after he murdered his brother Abel, according to Genesis 4:16. And Cain went out from the presence of the Lord and dwelled in the land of Nod, on the east of the on the east of Eden. Right? And it goes, Nod is the Hebrew root for the verb to wander, right? So once again, we have a Hebrew people that was criminals who was sent in a land of wandering, right? Therefore, to dwell in the land of Nod can't. Well, we're gonna get into the Hebrew right in a second. Nod to actually we did go into the Hebrew because we already touched on what does the Hebrew mean: to traverse, to travel, to go back and verse, to entangle, right? And so we understand that where we at? And Cain went out from in the present um land of Nod in the east of Eden. This is Genesis 4:17. Relates to after reviving to the land of Nod's, Cain's wife bore a son, Enoch, and whose name he built built the first city. Right now, like if you followed me, you know I did a story on Enoch and its importance as well. I'll put it in the description. Nod, right, is the Hebrew root of the verb to wander. Therefore, to dwell in the land of Nod could mean to live a wandering life as a gypsy. Genesis defines as follows: to be moved and to be aggravated, used in the reed shaken by the wind. Hence, the wanderer is to be a fugitive. Jeremiah, Genesis, Psalms. You got a few. These are a couple of the different. As you see right here, Jeremiah 4:1, Genesis 4:12, N14, Psalms 56:9, um, to flee, right? Psalms 11:1, Jeremiah 49:30, fugitively, Isaiah 17:11. The harvest has failed, but C, which some taken in this place to be a subset. Much of Cain's name is connected in the verb meaning to get. In Genesis 4:1, the name Nod clearly resembles the word Nod, usually translated as vagabond. In Genesis 4:12 and the subjugate redefining of the same verse, God cursed Cain to trembling. The Greek because in this criminal, right, they work in their secret ways, and if they're ever exposed, you see what the order was to deal with them in a certain fashion, and so they lived in fear. Right, Greek version of Nod written Neve, right, appears publicly driven from plural, which release resisting, um relates to resting and sleeping, right? Okay, then it goes, that Cain continued his wickedness in Nod, restoring to violence and robbery, establishing weights and measures. So if you understand weights and measures, right, units of measures is a defiant magnitude and of a quality, defined abruptly in convenience or by law, that is used as a standard of measure in the same kind of quantity. And other quantities of that kind can be expressed as a multitude of units of measurements. So as we can see right here, right, we see in you setting up a system, but as we see even in um the New Testament, where we talk about putting these weights and all of that on the scale to cheat the people, and they were talking about their own people when they are saying this. So I'm not laughing, I'm just saying, so it's not me making accusations, it's just what it is, right? Nod is said to be outside the presence of God. Origin defined Nod as a land of trembling and wrote that it symbolizes the conditions of all who forsake God. Early condemnations treated it as an opposite of Eden, worse still than that the land of exile for the rest of humanity. And the English transition Nod is sometimes described as a desert inhabitant only by fierce beasts and monsters. Others interpret Nod as a dark or even underground, away from the face of God. So when I told you God is government as well. So away from this system is whenever you see those criminal acts and you see those things, those are those people under that system, right? Augustine described uncovered Jews as dwellers in the land of Nod, which he defined as a combination as cardinal disquietude, disquietude, right? And this is Augustine, right? Um, Also known as the Saint Augustine, right? So we understand that it's not me making this accusation. As we can see, if we follow the trail, we can clearly see what has been taking place here, right? And so, and this is in the place of Nod. Land of Nod is the name of a hamlet in East Yorkshire, England. Right? I need, we Yorkshires, right? The York right. I just wanted to get that in there. Places named, and so this is in Yorkshire, right? Okay, so now we going into the Bible again, and all you gotta, and this is, you can go to what's the name of this company right here, by King James Bible Online, right? And it goes, all you gotta do is type in the search engine to and fro, right? And you see Zechariah. And in the bay went forth and sought to go, that they might walk to and fro through the earth. And he said, get you hence, walk to and fro through the earth. So they walked to and fro through the earth. Proverbs. And getting a treasure by a lying tongue is a vanity toss to and fro, and them that seek death. And this is in Proverbs. Psalms. They reel and to and fro. And strangers like the drunken man and are at their wits' end. Please understand what these sayings are. Just do it yourself, right? Dan also Jarvin going to and fro occupied, and thy fears brought iron, Cacius, and no, not this one. Oh yeah. Cacius, where and thy market. Now we said how this system, right, develop the scales, the weighing, and all of these things, and how this system was created in robbing at the market, right? That we have henceforth to be more children tossed to and fro and carried about with every wind of doctrine by the strength of men and cunning craftiness, whereby they lie in wait to deceive. And he sent forth a raven, right, which went forth to and fro until the water were dried up from the off the earth, and that was Genesis, right? I'm gonna read a couple more. With thou breath, a leaf driven to and fro, and with thou purse, the dry stubble, and your spoils shall be gathered like the gathering of the caterpillar. I told you I got that. And for the running to and fro of locusts shall he run upon them. The locusts eat up, so the thieves will come and eat up. So if you understand as you go through this and you just type in the to and fro in there, you will begin to see what I am saying, right? Now, this system, right? This system going back and forth, this system of deception through this manipulative. Now there's a few systems out there. If you know anything about Freemasonry, there's a few systems who have adapted and mastered this to and fro mentally, verbally, and visually to change your perception. right? And so this is how you know those who are under that system, and why it says it doesn't necessarily you have to be or the originals or this. That's why I know that the Jews and Hebrews, I don't see them as the same, but not saying they're not. It's hard to explain, right? And as we go on, you will understand that one can be above the other, and not, and the other can be of, but not the same, because one is and one is a break off of, if you understand what I'm saying. So in this, no, I'll take it from the top again to make it more clearly, right? So let me pull up this spread. Right, hold on. Pull up this. Right. Okay. So, oh, by the way, don't forget, you know, purchase my book, Street Skills, and knock them out the box, as well as hit that like, that subscribe, and that notification so you can know whenever new content is being uploaded or when I go live. Okay, okay. So, right, it goes Adam and Eve. Adam knew Eve, his wife, and she conceived and bare Cain, and said, he begot a man from the Lord. And she again bare his brother Abel, and Abel was a keeper of sheep, but Cain a tiller of the ground. Now remember, God, made a lower class, right? It was classation. Once you became the tiller, you was basically an enslaved class. So one was able to climb out of the slave class, right, by being the owner of the sheep, right? And the process, and in process of time, it came to pass that came brought of the fruit of the ground and the offering unto the Lord. The king, like, yeah, right. And Abel was also brought of the firstling of his flock, of the fat thereof. And the Lord had respect unto Abel to his offering, right? My fault, yeah. But to Cain and his offering he had no respect, and Cain was very wroth, and his contentance fell. And the Lord said unto Cain, why art thou wroth, and why is thy contentance fallen? Right? You was trying to please me, and you a slave anyway. I put you in that position, right? If thou well does well, shall thou not be accepted? And if thou does not well, sin lieth at the door, and unto thy shall be his desire, and thou shalt rule over him. Right? So, I'm showing favor to these people over here. You keep working, but if you wanna you're gonna want more, you wanna be in another position, right? We dealt with sin before, but I will be covering sin. And as you notice, even inside here, up here, you can see sin is highlighted because it's very important. I don't know why it's in here, but in my dialogue, it'll play a very important role, right? And unto the be his desire, not at this present time, that's a whole different show. Desire, and thou shalt rule over him. And Cain talked with Abel his brother, and it came to pass when they were in the field that Cain rose up against Abel his brother and slew him. And the Lord said unto Cain, where is Abel thy brother? And he said, I know not. Am I my brother's keeper? Meaning that Cain was, Abel was the keeper of the sheep, right? He had a different way of living, right? And so he slew him, right? And he's making that saying, and so from right there, he knew he was guilty because he gave back what he was to him. He's the sheep. He's like, am I, my brother's keeper? And from right there, he told on himself, right? And he said, what hast thou done? The voice of thy brother's blood cries unto me from the ground. And now art thou cursed from the earth, which has opened her mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand. When thou tilleth the ground, see now, even if he even tried to make, honest living, it shall not come forth, henceforth and yield unto thy her strength. A fugitive, unto thee her strength, right up the ground. A fugitive and vagabond shall thou be in the earth. So, because he did this, he will never, and since he's a vagabond and a criminal, he will never be able to make a decent living because then he will be caught. Right, say while you trying to you'll start to be known, and they'll know how to locate you. So you gotta always be on the run, right? Until her fugitive and vagabond thou shalt be on the earth. And Cain said unto the Lord, my punishment is greater than I can bear. Behold, thou hast driven me out this day from the face of the earth, and from thy face shall I be hidden. Excuse me. And I shall be a fugitive and vagabond in the earth, and it shall come to pass that everyone that findeth me shall slay me. And the Lord said unto thee, therefore, whosoever slayeth Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold. And the Lord set a mark upon Cain, least any findings him should kill him, right? So hold on, let me go out here real quick. I think it's inside here. Right. So we're gonna say from that he's hold on. No, we can go back into here real quick. Right. Go into the definition, right? Right, Bible verse with how can it thou say I am not no, actually let's go into the definition of Hebrew, right? Hebrew meaning to traverse or to pass over. It's usually renders into English from the Greek, right? So if we were to look up Hebrew, right? If we was to understand, no, actually, it was supposed to be. I wanted to talk about um wait, cause Cain he killed and then he went into the land, right? So you know what it is? I didn't save that part. My fault. I keep forgetting. After Cain kills Abel, he leaves out and he's sent to the land of Nod. Now the land of Nod, right? Now we can go back over here, right? We go in to the land of Nod, right? And the land of Nod is what? The land of Nod is a place mentioned in the Hebrew book of Genesis, right? Mentioned in the book of Genesis and the Hebrew Bible, located on the east of Eden, where Cain was exiled by God after Cain had murdered his brother Abel according to Genesis 6:14. And Cain went out from the presence of the Lord and dwelled in the land of Nod on the east of Eden. And as we know, when we when we see Freemasonry, right, we see they tell you, oh, the sun set and over here it doesn't set because it doesn't shine over here, and this is where they can be in the darkness and do their dirt, right? Nod is a Hebrew, it is the Hebrew root word for to wander. Now we know in when the Hebrews were out of went into exile from the Egyptians, they wandered for what? 40 years, right? In the wilderness, right? Going from place to place. So this wanderer, right? Therefore, to dwell in the land of Nod could mean to live in a wandering life. Genesis defines as follows, right? To be moved, to be aggravated, Arab, right? To used as a reed shaken by the wind back and forth. Hence, to wander, to be a fugitive. Jeremiah 41, Jeremiah 4:1, Genesis 4:12, right? In 14, Psalm 56, in 9, right? And that means to flee. Psalms 11:1, Jeremiah 49:30, fugitively, Isaiah 17:11. The harvest has fled, but see which some taken to be displaced and the subset. So as we can see, there's wanderers, right? Because they stole their thieves, just like how we could see with I forgot who he was when he went into Egypt with his wife, right? And he didn't tell him that that was his wife, and the Pharaoh gave him all of these things, and they gained their riches. Then again, also when the Hebrews left out of Egypt, you got to remember the slaves were given, the earrings, the gold earrings, and all of these things. And so when they left, they took a mass wealth themselves. That's how they was able to melt it down and form the golden calf, right? And we'll be getting into the golden calf and the melting down, right? Because you gotta remember these these Hebrews were the mules, right? The bulls with the earrings and these type of things, right? Um, so where we at? Much of Cain's name is connected to the verb meaning to get. In Genesis 4:1, the name Nod closely resembles the word Nad, usually translated as vagabond. In Genesis 4:12, right, rendering the same verse, God cursed Cain to trembling. The Greek verse Nod written knave appearing in Victoria, possibly derived from the plural, which relates to the wrestling and sleeping. The division can um diversion conclusions is not connected with the English pun on nod, right? Joseph wrote Antiquities of the Jews that Cain continued his wickedness in Nod, restoring to violence and robbery, establishing weight and measures, as we said, this system of betraying yourself through fairness of putting it on the scale, but designing a way to cheat the scale, as then also allowing you to cheat the people. Transform, and as we know inside the Greek um um translation meaning of the New Testament, right, dealing in the Greeks, right, we see that same dealings, transforming human culture from innocence to craftiness and deceit, right? So and so the system changes the people to a wicked system. And those are what you would see establish property lines, right, and building fortified cities. These things that weren't there before were designed by these people, and while they were designing these things, they had documents and all of those type of things which allowed those who did not know these things to be overtaken, right? Nod is said to be outside the presence of the face of God. Origin defined Nod as a land of trembling and wrote that it symbolized the conditions of all who forsake God. God is the government. So all of those who went against it, right? Even though that government was set up and using these lines and these things, so clearly it's going out and using the accuser to take things from people, right? Because we did go in. No, we didn't go into it yet, but well, we did the first time, but we didn't go into it the second time. The origins defines not as a land of trembling and wrote to symbolize conditions of those who forsake God. Early commentators treated it as the opposite of Eden, worse than the land of exile for the rest of humanity. So you have these city environments, and then you have the outside world where if you wasn't under protection of these places, you were basically food. You was the victim, you know what I mean, of many different things. In the English tradition, Nod was sometimes described as a desert inhabitant only by furious beasts and monsters. Others interpreted Nod as a dark or even underground, away from the face of God. Augustine described unconverted Jews as dwellers in the land of Nod, right? Which he defined as communions and cardinal disquidities. My fault if I'm not saying that right. But, so we take that, right? And so let's go back into my files, right? Hold on a minute here. And we go into, right? What does it mean again to traverse, right? Because if we go into the biblical term Hebrew, right, pronounce, meaning to traverse or pass over, is usually rendered, pardon me, rendered Hebrew and English from the Greek. Right, so the word Hebrew itself means to traverse, just like when we know in the Bible where the Hebrews after they ran from Egypt, they traversed 40 years in the desert, right? And those things. So we have traverse, right? Then we look and we go into what is it, what do they might see it, and it's to crisscross, twist, or entangle. So it doesn't necessarily have to mean in a physical way, because now you can use this in a mental way, as we see with the woke community and the information, and cause the crisscrossing of information and causing conflicts within the communities, right? So we go here, and how do you know this to be true? We will look at Job 1:6, right? Now, there was a day when the sons of God came in the presence, presented themselves before the Lord, and Satan came among them. Remember, he was in the land of the traverse, and the Lord said unto Satan, whence comest thou? And Satan answered the Lord and said, from going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down it. Right now, we know Satan's job, right, is as a adversary, right? It is within a divine court of justice and retribution that Satan has his origin in the Hebrew word Satan, meaning accuser or adversary. Occurs several times throughout the Hebrew Bible and refers to enemies both of human and celestial alike. So even inside of, say, the Hebrew system, there's, even like any system, there's going to be people within that system who's going to go against that law. So when we see Augustine saying those unconverted and these things, we can say that, okay, within a group of people, we have those who just refuse to change their ways and actions, right? And so to back this up, we go back into the Bible, but now we just simply type in to and fro, right? Because we know that this is what the Hebrews had to do. We know, like, going to and fro here, going around and crossing over. And, we know that Cain had to cross over into, over into the land of Nod. And inside that whole land, it just means to traverse and go back and forth, right? To and fro. So it would only be right for you to do your investigation and type in simply to and fro. And this in the I went into King James Bible online, right? Zechariah. And the bay went forth and sought to go, that they might walk to and fro through the earth. And he said, get you hence, walk to and fro through the earth. So they walk to and fro through the earth. The getting of treasure by a lying tongue is a vanity toss to and fro to them that seek death. Right? So I told you it's this skill of talking in a way to confuse the people. The rail to and fro, no, they reel to and fro and stagger like drunken men, and are they wit end, and they are wits end. Dan also Javan going to and fro, occupied, and thy fears brought iron, Sikis, and Calcamus, where they we're in thy market. Right? I already went through the market thing with you, that we henceforth be no more children tossed to and fro and carried about with every wind of doctrine, by every wind of doctrine. See, I told you this word, right? These words. So now, through these doctrines, a person can be swayed either way by the strength of men and cunning craftiness, whereby they lie in wait to deceive. Right? You can't get more clearer than that than what I'm telling. And like I said, this is me telling you, this is showing you the verses. I didn't make this, I didn't create this. This was here before me. This is what I tell people all the time. I didn't create this information, and I make sure whatever I go to has multiple areas and is not dictated by me. And those who are putting it out there might not even be aware that I'm aware to show other people. And he sent forth a raven, right? Dealing with the deaf, which went forth and to and fro until the water were dried up from the earth and made it inhabitable for the people to live there, right? We know Job, right? It goes, wilt thou break a leaf driven to and fro, and wilt thou pursue thy dry stubble? And that's, and remember, that's where to and fro came from. And your spoils shall be gathered like the gathering of the caterpillar, as the running to and fro of locusts shall he run upon them. I'll just do one more again. And the man that stood among the myrtle tree answered and said, there are thy whom the Lord has sent to walk to and fro through the earth. This is who the Lord had sent. And who are they referring to? And this is in Zechariah 1:10. You can't get no more clear. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna say this is my greatest reference. Zechariah 1:10. And the man that stood in the myrtle tree answered and said, there are they whom the Lord had sent to walk to and fro through the earth. Right? And we just gonna leave that there for that. I hope you learned something. By the way, don't forget, this is Street Skelzy. Knock 'em out the box. This is my book. Yes, and don't forget to hit that like and subscribe. Street Skelzy is a book about two brothers on opposite. Make sure you can see this real good here. Right? Street Skelzy is a book about two brothers on opposite sides of the law who must team up in order to find their father's killer or killers. Right? It's a murder mystery. As you see, I'm scared to tell you too much about it due to the fact that I expose the mysteries here. So, as you know, I know my actions and I might, just leak too much to you. So, nonetheless, I'm out of here. I'm Juice One. This is Old York Gritty. Once more, I hope you learned something. I hope I gave you a jewel. I hope you understand as you study these things, do not conflate information because there are levels to what is happening, and the reason why there are levels is this right here, the to and fro. This is a art, it's a craft. That this is why you see the people in the who point this verse to that verse over here, Genesis, and hop around and have you in a spell. The art of to and fro. Watch it. You will see it when it comes to people, when they making their little TikTok and YouTube videos where they pointing here and then they jumping right over there and right over there, but they covering up the book and, and this, that, and the third. Watch out for the mind criminal. They are way more dangerous than a person with a gun. We are out of here, people. Till next time, hold it down. Peace. Hold on, let me see that. Okay.